Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Flight Podcast. My name is Jacob Shanker.
And I'm Andrew Thomas.
Shut up and sit down.
The Super Bowl has concluded, and the result was just absolutely shocking. The Bucs won 31-9 against the Chiefs. And to be honest, I've been stunned since the second quarter. And today we're going to be going over the game and some topics related to it, as well as the NFL honors that happened last night. And let's just fly right into it. Jacob, what were your reactions to the game? Because I think we both had the same.
Yeah, I was not even just surprised by the second quarter, the second half, just the entire game, more so, right? This is by far probably Patrick Mahomes' worst game of his entire career.
I agree.
And this is not a game that you want to be having as your worst game of your entire career. This is the game where you need to show out the most. I don't know what was going on. It was like, I know it was not just Patrick Mahomes, it was everybody, but a good portion of it was Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I want to break it down.
Less than half, though, because I contribute half of it to their offensive line. That was awful, terrible today.
Their offensive line was terrible, but you have to just give credit to the Bucs because their defensive line they have the best rushing defense in the league. It was showing this game, and it's obvious just about the talent that they have on that roster. But with the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, just watching him, I'll give him some credit. He was not able to get that many sacks, but he had to throw away the ball so many times this game.
So many. It was ridiculous.
Times. And he could have gotten picked off more than he already had. He only had 2 interceptions this game. He probably could have had 5, realistically. Because a lot of the players that got it, the Chiefs players caught it, but it was out of bounds, or it was tipped, and the Bucs player couldn't get it. But the first half, it was just rushing. It was all rushing.
It was.
And then
he couldn't get completions in the first quarter.
Exactly.
He started out 1 for 8.
He was 50%. That was his completion percentage after the first half. And then now you go into the second half, he starts passing more. Why did he not do that in the first half? They could have gone much farther if they were just passing more.
Right? Yeah, I think it was it was mainly the offensive line where they couldn't contain the rushing pass rush. But, yeah.
I personally, I think it was just all around with the Buccaneers this entire game. I think even though Tom Brady really did amazing, I personally think the real MVPs is the Buccaneers defense.
Yeah, I agree.
Rushing, destroy that offensive line. The Chiefs' offensive line is good, and the Bucs just ran over it, and they completely doubled up Tyreek Hill, doubled up Travis Kelce. Even though Travis Kelce got a lot of yardage and got a lot of receptions,
he had to get it. He had to work for it.
He had to work for it. Exactly. He didn't get any touchdowns. He didn't get.
Kelce had a good game, but there were some catches where he should have caught it.
Yeah, and a lot of these catches, a lot of these yardage that he's getting, it's late in the game when it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but he still had a good game. I think he had 14 targets, 15.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, what were your overall thoughts?
Well, Tom Brady, obviously he's the GOAT in my opinion, but I think people are slightly overreacting to how good of a game he had. It was the defense that everyone's saying that the reason they won is because of Tom Brady. He got them there, but today it was all about the defense. He only had 201 yards. He threw for 3 touchdowns. People look at the 3 touchdowns and go, wow, but 200 yards isn't that good. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones had 140 rushing yards. And to be honest, I was rooting for Gronk to get that MVP because he had 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, 67 yards. But ultimately, obviously, they would have given it to Brady because Gronk wasn't worthy of it. But I did want him to get it.
Yeah.
And for the Chiefs, you look at the stats, Kelce, Hill had a decent game. But usually Hill has a higher average. He only averaged 10 yards per catch. And he usually gets 13, 14?
Yeah, you're right.
At least that. But Mahomes was just terrible. It was the offensive line for the Chiefs that just killed them.
Yeah. But not even that, just all of these catches, most of these catches, most of the yardage that they're getting, it's late in the game. Why? I have to emphasize this so much. Why? Why are they doing this all late in the game?
Yeah.
And even like watching the game, third quarter, they're in the red zone. They're getting close. They're actually doing well. Bam, interception by Patrick Mahomes. Like
It's just so disappointing. But to be honest, also something about this, I thought the reffing was a little unfair. Like 11 penalties for 120 yards
yeah, that was a lot.
versus 4 for the Bucs. 11 is a ton of penalties. How do you give up 11 penalties? That's one of the biggest reasons they won this game, actually. 120 yards is a ton of yards. That's a lot. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, it was the most penalties by a team in a first half ever in a Super Bowl.
And there were some where that weren't penalties. There were some that weren't called on the Bucs.
It was a
The
lot.
refs need to figure some stuff out, and I feel like there should be penalties towards the ref for wrong callings that are just ridiculous callings, or there should be warnings.
I mean, there was.
Because
I mean,
just in this day and age, the refs are just terrible in any sport.
I mean, there was a few that I'll say they were bad calls, but
most of them were penalties, but there were some that just weren't penalties.
there was some, but mostly in the second half where they just were not really penalties. But most of them in the first half, I will say, I'm not disagreeing with them, even though it was a little like, okay, the refs are kind of just look like they were going against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs defense were just doing that bad. They were just letting up that badly. Holding plays, false start plays, pass interference, all the stuff. I mean, misconduct by a player when it was Tyrann Mathieu when the Bucs got a touchdown. Like it was all of that. But I mean, it was right. Tyrann Mathieu with the misconduct, he was trying to start something. He was getting angry at the refs. He was getting in front of Tom Brady, and he fueled the fire for Tom Brady. So it was not good, and there was not. I mean, the only player on the Chiefs that like coming out of this game that I'll say had a good game was I'll say Travis Kelce. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Literally it.
There's no other player I can say. And for the Bucs, there's not one player I can tell you that. I mean, the only player I can tell you that probably could have done better was Chris Godwin, and maybe Mike Evans could have gotten more receptions, but still, Definitely. He had a catch for 31 yards.
31 yards is a lot.
Yeah.
It was their rushing and their rushing defense.
It really was. It really was.
Yeah, it's just disappointing to see the Super Bowl be so bland this year again.
Yeah, it's disappointing, you know?
Extremely.
I mean, last Super Bowl was really entertaining.
Yeah, oh yeah. That was the comeback.
The comeback. I mean, I expected the same thing to happen now. I mean, I mean, we'll get into it later about our thoughts on what Patrick Mahomes and what we think he will look like in the league. But let's go into the next topic, talking about Tom Brady. Obviously, we both think he's the GOAT, but
he is the GOAT.
Let's just talk about
debate at this point.
Yeah, expand on that.
Well, in the past, there's been Joe Montana. There's a ton of players that could be the GOAT, but ultimately it comes down to the quarterback position. And Joe Montana was the GOAT until Tom Brady. Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings. Montana has 4. I don't see anyone else that, like, anyone in the past that, besides Montana and Tom Brady, they're just up there on a league of their own.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, not even just for football, but just in general in sports, I think you really know when the person's the GOAT when you're like, oh, this guy's in the championship again. Like when you know it, what you like, there's always that one player for each sport where you know it's that guy. Yeah. And if it's that guy, he's the GOAT. In this case, in football, it's Tom Brady, right? His 10th Super Bowl, his 7th ring. I mean, man's is a beast. I think also what defines a GOAT is, I mean, I like you said, Joe Montana was defined as a GOAT for a while. I mean, another player that some people also think is the GOAT is Deion Sanders, primetime.
Yep. And he's definitely up there for me.
I think in my opinion, I think he's second best. But a lot of people,
I think Jerry Rice is better than Deion Sanders, I put Deion Sanders right behind Jerry Rice.
The reason I'll say second, and even the reason that people, I think, put him for first is because of his ability to be able to do everything. Because let alone him being the best defensive player of all time in football, he just dominated every single time on the field as a cornerback. He also
He
played
shut down a side of the field.
yeah. He also played offense. He would play as a
Yeah,
wide receiver.
punt return, kick return.
Yeah, he played
Sometimes, yeah, you're right. Wide
and
receiver sometimes.
he played offense, he played defense, and he played special teams. That
All
is
three.
that he played everything.
Plus, he played baseball. Don't forget that.
Plus he played baseball.
One of the
And
greatest athletes of all time.
now he's coaching. He's doing
It's
it all.
crazy.
Yeah. But I think the one thing for me that also really defines if you're the GOAT is really I feel a big factor is longevity. Being able to dominate a league for a long period of time. Tom Brady has dominated the NFL for 20 years now. And it doesn't look like he's stopping anytime soon, which is
Well,
insane.
soon he's gonna stop soon, but
Soon, but
a
he
couple
just won the Super
seasons
Bowl.
probably. He'll be gone in 2 seasons.
He'll be gone soon, but I don't know what's gonna happen with the man.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, let's head on to Patrick Mahomes' status on catching up to the GOAT, Tom Brady. What do you think?
It will never happen. The reason
Not anymore. Not now that he's lost in the AFC and this. To be honest, I think he should have won the AFC, but the NFL's overtime rules are just terrible in my opinion. One score and the game's over. The team doesn't even get another chance.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's just boring. It's uneventful and it's anticlimactic.
You're right. I mean, yeah, I think going into this game, I feel like Patrick Mahomes had a lot of potential onto being able to be the next GOAT, beat Tom Brady or be one of the best. But the reason I think he's not there for me anymore is because no player would have this. No player would have a game like this. Let alone if this happened in a regular season game. Okay, fine, whatever. This is the Super Bowl. This is the biggest event of the year. This is what everything is leading up to, and you blew it. You completely blew it on the biggest stage in one of the biggest stages in the world.
Yeah.
So
ridiculous.
How could you let that up?
Literally, how could you?
How on earth could you do that? And I mean, I don't think is he able to recover from it? My opinion, no. I mean, sure, he can win more rings, but the fact of the matter is that you need a player that can be consistently good, dominating a league for a long period of time.
I agree.
He dominated it last year, not this year.
No, he didn't this year.
He didn't win MVP. He didn't win the Super Bowl.
He could have won MVP though.
He could have won MVP. He was second, but no, he didn't win it. And we'll get into Aaron Rodgers winning the MVP later. But still, why don't we actually go into the next topic, which is talking about Patrick Mahomes and his status in the league. How do you think he's going to look? Because everyone has him.
I think he'll look the same next year. I don't think this changes anything. Well, it changes a good amount, but it doesn't change anything in the regular season. He's still going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be good at everything.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he'll be bad at all. But
I still think he's the best quarterback in the league.
It changes my I still think he's the best quarterback, but it just changes my perception on not even just Patrick Mahomes, but on the Chiefs in general.
Yeah, I agree. But it doesn't change that much for me, to be honest. Not that much.
I don't know about not that much, but it still changes because also the AFC is very tough. The NFC in the future is not looking very bright because of the Packers they're getting old. The Saints, they're getting old. The Bucs, even though they just won, in reality, they're getting old, a lot of their players. So they have very few options on teams that are looking to rise up, like the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Rams. But the AFC, all their top teams have young quarterbacks. The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, the Titans, the Browns. Oh, the Titans not as much, but still, he's young enough. The Browns. I mean, it's a lot of talent.
Long list.
I mean, I think the biggest competitor for now the AFC is I'm going to say the Bills and the Ravens.
I agree. The Ravens are going to be good. The Bills are going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, are you 100% in that the Chiefs will win, not win, but that will make the Super Bowl next year?
Not 100%, but I do think that they probably have a good chance to get it.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I think it's very up in the air for what's going to happen with this Chiefs team because it's also like, what can they change? Right? I mean,
Yeah,
you look at
that's
this
true.
team. They had Patrick Mahomes, who is the best player in the league. They had one of the best wide receiver cores, running back cores,
Yeah. Well,
offensive
not a
line.
phenomenal running back core, but it was good.
They had a good running back core. They had a good offensive line. They had one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, the coaching was great. Like, there's nothing you can really change about this team. Maybe minor things, but nothing that would make a huge impact. So it's like, what do they do? What does the ownership do? It's extremely tough that they're going to have to think over.
Yeah, it's not going to be great for the Chiefs in competition. Well, it's going to be great for the Chiefs in competition standards,
Yeah.
like because they're going up against such hard opponents. But
Yeah.
the AFC, I do agree with you on the AFC being so much harder than the NFC, especially in their future.
Yeah. I mean, I think another big thing is putting Tyrann Mathieu in his place because
Tell them
he
to shut
was
up.
so hot-headed this entire game. I understand
It's
that
just
he's mad at a flag, but you getting mad led to another flag. You can't let that happen. Not in the Super Bowl.
yeah, it's just unacceptable, ridiculous.
Unacceptable, and it should not be happening by an all-pro safety.
No, really shouldn't. It's just ridiculous.
Nope.
But let's head on to what happened on Saturday. The NFL honors, starting off with the MVP. We said it before. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind that it was Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't surprise me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we both expected this. It was Aaron Rodgers. He was phenomenal this entire season, let alone his age and what people thought about him going into the season. He showed out. I mean, he had a great touchdown interception ratio. He had passing yardage. I mean, he was top 10 in every single um, what's it called, quarterback ranking except for rushing, but that doesn't
Yeah,
really matter as much. But still,
it was great.
hmm
Like his season was phenomenal.
yes, yeah. And then now the offensive player of the year, Derrick Henry, was chosen. What were your thoughts on that?
I wasn't surprised very much. Obviously, it could have been a good amount of players, but Derrick Henry had 2,000 rushing yards. 2,000 is a lot. That's
hmm
half of what usual quarterbacks get. Half.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm pretty sure he had over 15 touchdowns. Let me just look at this.
Derrick Henry
He had
is
17 touchdowns. That is, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised. He dominated completely on the offensive field. He is one of 3 players to put up a stat line like that. And
yeah,
this,
yeah. I'm sorry, you go.
no, yeah, I was just saying he's one of 3 players to do that in NFL history. The last person that did that was in the 1980s.
Yeah, and the last person to get over 2,000 rushing yards, I believe, was Adrian Peterson, 2012 MVP season.
Yeah,
It's just crazy. Derrick Henry averaged 126 yards per game.
yeah,
Obviously, he was a little inconsistent, but those were against good defenses.
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people bring up the fact that the MVP is overrun by the fact that quarterbacks win it every single year. So, I mean, I want to hear your thoughts first. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the quarterback is usually the best. It's the most important position. I I I really can't say anything about that. I think the quarterback would usually win it. It doesn't surprise.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, yeah, like you said, the quarterback is always the best player on the team. What makes a huge impact on the team, which really shows out for how far the team can progress. But I mean, I know a lot of people thought that Derrick Henry should have won the MVP. But the one reason I do not think Derrick Henry should have won the MVP was even though he did have 2,000 rushing yards, there were a lot of games where he was terribly inconsistent.
Inconsistent. Yeah.
Terribly. having like less than 50 yards and consistent. Like,
Yeah, it was bad. And he did pretty bad in the playoffs. He had 40 yards
yeah,
on 20 attempts.
he did terrible.
It was awful. It was just
No,
disappointing.
no.
But let's head on to the defensive player of the year, which isn't a shock to me. It's Aaron Donald.
Mhm.
Just a phenomenal season by him. The Rams were one of the best defensive teams in the NFL. And Aaron Donald's always been good. 13 and a half sacks this year, a fumble recovery. He's the best defensive player, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I was a little bit iffy. I thought that for a while, I thought that TJ Watt should have won it. But thinking back on it, it probably should have been Aaron Donald for the reason that the Rams had a tougher schedule and
Yep.
he really showed out in everything that he could do. I mean, he really did it all, and it showed why he's a top 5, still arguable, probably a top 3 player in the
I
league.
don't think top 3 player. I do believe in top 5 player, though.
I don't know. I think he's probably still 3rd in the top 3 players because he
We'll see. We'll see.
really knows how to dominate on the defensive end. But I mean, the reason I didn't think TJ Watt should have gotten it and I changed my mind was solely because of their schedule. When the Steelers played when they played bad teams, obviously he's going to do well, and the Steelers won. When they played good teams, where were they? Where was he? Nowhere. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Let's go into offensive rookie of the year, Justin Herbert. I know that you thought that Justin Jefferson should win this award. So what do you think? What did you think about Mr. Herbert winning?
I think that if I think every other year, Justin Jefferson would have won it. I think he had a phenomenal year. I think he should have won it. It was more impressive, in my opinion, than Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, he was great in the touchdown ratio. Justin Herbert's a good quarterback, and he's going to be good. I just think that Justin Jefferson should have won it. It's my personal preference. And the fact that he's a quarterback helps his case.
Yes. I mean, it was extremely tough. It was extremely tough because you had 2 completely different guys. You had one guy who really was kind of carrying his team, Justin Herbert, kind of carrying that Chargers team because they had terrible coaching. They were just all over the place, yet he was still able to get some wins out of it, and still do phenomenal and put up like numbers that are like top 10 quarterback numbers. And he was consistently good. Justin Jefferson, on the other hand, was doing the same thing, putting up top 10 wide receiver type numbers on a team that also has other talent. You have Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. I think if there was any other quarterback on that team, he probably would have done even better.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback, but he's not phenomenal.
He's an average quarterback at best.
Yep.
He's average. He's fallen off since last year, but he's average.
Yep.
I mean, I think it was a bit. If I honestly, I could have seen it gone either way between Justin Herbert or Justin Jefferson. I'm not mad with this choosing. I wouldn't be mad with it if Justin Jefferson would. I mean, you can make an argument for either one. It's just really how you look at it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But you could all right, I'm being realistic. You could make the case for either of them, like you said. It's just my personal preference. I wish Justin Jefferson won it.
Yeah. This is going to be the next Randy Moss in the making.
Possibly. Let's move on to the defensive rookie of the year. This one is obvious. Chase Young. He was just absolutely ridiculous all year. Besides that playoff game, Chase Young is phenomenal, and he's the reason that the Redskins, your local football team, was so good.
I think he was the best player in the best rookie this entire year.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no other player. I don't care about, like, even when we were talking about before about Justin Herbert, Justin Jefferson, forget all that. Meet Chase Young. He changed a franchise.
Literally, he changed them.
Completely changed them. They went from a bum team, being one of the worst teams in the league, being the worst team in the NFC East, to making the playoffs, And I know it was a very unpredictable
NFC
year.
East, but
I mean, yeah, it was the NFC East, and it was close with the Giants, and the Cowboys had injuries, and the Eagles had their own problems, but they still made it, and they still got a good amount of wins that year. So it's
with that
still
offense.
without pretty much an offense, exactly. So it was very impressive for what he could do because he shaped that defensive line to be one of the best in the league.
Yeah, yeah, they were really good.
Yeah. And speaking of the football team, the comeback player of the year was none other than Alex Smith. Um, no surprise, right?
No surprise at all. He
He
had
came
a
back after 2 years playing
two,
again.
2.
Yeah, 2 years. Um, so I mean, I'm gonna assume you didn't think anybody else should have won this.
No one. This award was meant for Alex Smith and players like Alex Smith. He was out 2 years. He had 17 surgeries, and he came back.
Yeah,
They didn't want him to come back. There were surgeons that said you shouldn't play football again. He played football again.
yeah. I mean, it's extremely impressive what he was able to do because he not only did he come back and was actually able to play, I mean, but he inspired so many people because of it. I mean, being able
Yeah,
to have such a huge injury,
he pulled a
and
Sean Livingston.
yeah, he had such a huge injury. I mean, it could have been a career-ending injury, and he just
It usually would have been a career-ending
yeah,
injury.
he pulled through and he worked hard, and then he got back, and now he's back in the league, and it's great.
Yeah, it is, and I'm really. It's good to have him back.
Hmm.
And to our last award, Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski of the Browns. I think that this was deserved. I don't think this award doesn't really matter in my opinion, but the Browns, they did have a good year. They got past the Steelers. They did good. Good regular season. I think it's deserved.
Yeah. Um, I mean, the only other coach that I would have picked is maybe Brian Flores of the Dolphins.
That's true. Maybe.
I mean, I think both of them were deserving, but I think the reason that Kevin Stefanski got it was because of the Browns and because of them making the playoffs and almost beating the Chiefs,
They
even though
almost did. Even without Patrick Mahomes, but still.
yeah, I mean, even though they only count regular season, it's still extremely impressive that they were able to do that.
It
But
is. It really is.
yeah, but I mean, he was able to help turn this team around. The Browns were looking for a coach, a good coach, for years now, and they finally
Looked
found
for
one.
everything for years now.
Yeah, for Freddie Kitchens was just not good on that team. He was not able to guide Baker Mayfield to be the quarterback that he could be, even though we both agree that Baker Mayfield is overhyped and that he
Much,
will
much overhyped.
never be a top tier quarterback. He's still a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's good.
It's not like this is his best season, and with Kevin Stefanski, he's gonna have even better seasons. Now, when OBJ comes back and he's healthy, it's gonna be a great duo watching them.
It is. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. That's all for today, everyone.
Feel free to comment down below what your thoughts were on the Super Bowl and the topics that we talked about.
Tune into the next episode on Friday. See you guys next time.
Peace.